Welcome, beautiful souls, to another Sunday Synergy session with me, Chun-Li Synergy. And this is where the space holds real conversations, meets real healing, and when we rise, we reflect, we reclaim our light. So today's session is personal. It's about how adversity shaped me and didn't define me. It's about the messy, painful, transformational moments that led me to true freedom, faith, and I'd say also self-alignment. So sit back and open your heart, and maybe you'll be able to see a little bit of your own story in mine. So part one, we're just going to focus on the wounds. And I'm not going to go into too deep graphic details today, but I am going to open up the whole story so you have an overview of what brought me to and through the adversities. So I'll start off with saying I've seen things that made a little girl like me when I was a little girl grow up too fast. So witnessing domestic violence, feeling unsafe in spaces that were unsupported to feel like home. Like later on down the line, heartbreaks, betrayal, the kind of pain that makes you question what love even is. Like I used to carry that pain like a badge. Like as I was suffering, it proved that I was worthy of something. And I asked, like, why me? What did I do wrong? And I even warned people. I don't even know if anybody knows about mourning somebody who's still here and alive, but I learned that grief isn't just for somebody who passes away. It's also friendships, relationships, dreams that we have to bury. But what can holding on to pain actually do? After you replay the betrayal and hurt all inside you, and to be honest with you, it silently and was slowly poisoning me every single day. Just the quiet thoughts about all the betrayals and the friends I had to let go of and the things that weren't going right in my life, to be fair. But then I chose healing. So one day I looked in the mirror and I didn't even recognize myself, to be fair. The pain that I was carrying was just so heavy, heavier than it needed to be at the time, and my thoughts were also darker than I also wanted to admit or accept, because I looked at help, especially from authorities, as something that was in a negative light for what some things had been experienced in my family, and I was scared to open up about the things that I was experiencing in case they had intentions of, taking my child away because of how I felt. But I knew there was only two choices. It was either stay where I am or choose differently. And to be fair, it's not like I could make that choice straight away. But I just know I wanted to choose to change my life around. And then one day I went to the park, and then I just discovered a yoga mat like in Primark once. If anybody knows about Primark, I'm sure most people know about Primark. And I just decided to take it to the park one day and just take it upon myself to just go with the flow of the movement of where the wind and everything that day was taking me. And to my surprise, before I knew it, I was sequencing up a whole Pilates and yoga class and routine for myself, which by the time I finished with all of it, I'm telling you, after each of those sessions, I felt amazing. Because at first, it wasn't just the movement, it was the way that it felt. And it helped me to release the pain of things that I'd experienced. And I realised that the more I practiced and the more I realised that it wasn't just a physical thing, it was spiritual as well, and it was emotional. Because with every breath, every pose, and every kind of shaky moment that I had and that I aligned myself with, I realised that it was reconnecting me back to myself. And of course, not the broken version of myself, not the one that I betrayed after allowing myself to be betrayed by others and putting myself through situations and circumstance which a lot were out of my control, but I had choice of whether I decided to stay or go. So the true whole beautiful soul that was hiding deep beneath me wanted to really come out. And for so long, I realised that I was suppressing myself and not being myself because I felt like being authentic at the time just wasn't in. Not that I'd pretended to be somebody else, but I'd masked for so long that I was experiencing the dark night of the soul. I was kind of like in that depression era. But things changed, to be fair. And there's many things that tie up to my story, which will come out in my book, which is due to come out this year. Was the encounter that something happened that changed everything for me. And I did have an encounter, which was a presence, I'll call it. It was loud, but also quiet. And it wasn't like fireworks or choirs, but it was still, and it was a knowing. And for me, I would say that was my first actual encounter with God, the universe. And for the first time, I truly just felt seen, not by people, but somebody else who could hear me, who was far greater than me, who actually heard my cry and cared enough to actually give me that rub on the shoulder that I needed at the time. As I asked the questions, why me, and things like that, a lot of things shifted in me. It was no longer, why me? It was more, what are you trying to show me? What is this for? What are you putting me through this for, universe? Just so that I can learn the lesson and understand what it is you're trying to show me. And that made me realise that I wasn't being punished, that it was more for preparation. Like God was actually preparing me for something that was far beyond my imagination and far beyond what I could actually fathom at the time. But from moving on from looking at self and being like, oh, I don't understand why this is happening to me, like the wounded warrior, the wounded ego, it kind of switched up into I am. So it connected me more to like the soul side and the purpose side of why things were happening in my life. So after that shift, I knew that, sorry, it's just something keeps popping up on my phone. I knew that moment changed how I thought. It changed how I spoke to myself and what I fed myself, like internally, both health-wise with food and also what I was telling myself mentally. And that kind of made me adjust accordingly how I was choosing to live my life. And I realised that life wasn't against me. It was more just trying to wake me up. Which is why I truly adore the universe for, because to be honest with you, that was just a magical moment that flipped over my life, kind of like in an instant overnight, but not literally, because I still had to put in work for much of the time after, but it was as if something inside the light bulb switched and this is not it, this is it. So I had to grieve what I had to go through, basically. And through grieving through losing friends and family members and people who I was really close with, whether it was just for a small period of time or still a duration lies now, I had to learn that one of the hardest lessons is that you can love people, but you can still outgrow them. And not everyone that laughs with you is actually for you. And not everyone that claps for you wants you to actually win. Some only stay around for what you can give them, but when it required them to give too, you will sometimes find and realise that they disappear on you. They do the disappearing act. And yeah, it does hurt. It deeply, deeply hurt, and can still hurt today, especially for those who are experiencing it. But God had showed me that some separations in life are only for our own protection, and that the betrayals that we experience are just divine redirections, because what we have to understand is not everything that happens in our life that we're able to witness or that we experience is not a personal hit, but it's more just for us to wake up and understand and realise the purpose of what our life is really about, what we're here for. And that's when it kind of made me look at freedom. And I'll say that today my piece is non-negotiable. I just enjoy the freedom to be me, not what others expect of me, not what the past conditioned me to be, or what God but it is what God called me to be and what God has chosen for me and my purpose to be, for me to just be happy, basically, and for me to just be able to heal and get over the things that had happened in my life and around me that I personally had accepted or had no control over, and they either turned out to be the best things in my life or an absolute nightmare. So I don't have any more guilt. I'm not holding any more guilt over relationships that just didn't work out for me, because I've accepted that not everything is supposed to work out the way that we want it to, but more so some people come for a season, a reason, a lifetime, honey, you name it, the list goes on. But I'm not going to hold any more shames for holding on to the red flags that I knew that I saw from the beginning and decided to still continuously hold on to. I vowed I would put myself in that situation no more. There was no more choosing people, places or things that were poisoning my spirit, that actually weren't aligned for me and that didn't want to make any steps towards change, positive change that is in their life. And now through all of that, I now believe in me. And through that belief, I created a life where my soul leads, not my wounds, but my soul leads me. And that's through the connection to this universe and still deciding to choose love after all of the betrayal and hurt and the cancer scare and many other things that I've been through, that I've chosen to take the stand on and say, you know what, I fight no more against it. But instead, I choose to go with it. I choose to go with the force of nature, because that's when things will start aligning. But beautiful soul, if you're in a season of grieving what once was, or things that are happening or have happened to you, if you're letting go to find your way back to you, just know this, that you're not broken. You're becoming. And God didn't forget about you. He was just setting you free. That's what I learned. So thank you for holding this space with me today. And if this touched your spirit, please leave a comment below or share your heart, and let's keep this soulful synergy alive. Until next Sunday, keep rising, keep shining, and remember, you are the light you've been searching for. Have a blessed and soulful Sunday. Thank you for joining me on my session. The sun is shining. Go enjoy. Peace out, sisters. Until next Sunday, where we'll be having another soulful Sunday synergy session.